Hi guys, Simon again from Max Tunes. So today we want to talk about resources that are available to help you guys. So when you start remapping cars, or when you're starting out, or even if you're not starting out, the only question that you will always get asked by the customer is how much will I gain? As in brake horsepower or Newton meters. How much will I gain? Now, we have our own app that you for iOS or Android, or you can just jump online and use our calculator online. But mostly it's really easy. If it's on the app, you can just use iOS, Android, whatever, and you just find the car, boom, it will give you what it is. And so that is a massive resource that virtually all our dealers use because it's easy, quick, simple, but mostly because we are more honest than a lot out there. So a lot of people go, oh, well, that's 20 brake less than what I've been quoted somewhere else, or that's 30 brake less than what I've been quoted somewhere else. Great, okay. There is a reason why we are very accurate with our brake horsepower figures, because we don't need to inflate or lie about the figures you're going to gain. It is what it is. Now, just because someone else says that they'll get 30 brake horsepower more does not mean that they are going to get 30 brake horsepower more. If the car's not going on a dyno, how the hell are you going to know? How are you going to know what that is? So saying something and doing something are two vastly different things. And we would rather quote you sensible, realistic, achievable figures than give you some pie-in-the-sky rubbish that when this car does go to a dyno, doesn't even hit close to it, and you're standing there looking like a plum. That is not what we are about. We want to give you accurate, precise figures that are realistic. Now, being careful here, because every car is different. It's had different service history, it's been looked after differently, it's had a different life being driven, it's been in different environments, it's had different fuel put in it, it's had different oil, different air filters. All these sorts of things do play an effect. So we give you what is something that is achievable for most cars. Now, sometimes we will achieve more than what we quote because the car is particularly healthy, because the car is well looked after, well maintained, has the right stuff in it. You know, it's been run on decent fuel all the time. The fuel filter was brand new. It has had all its services when it's supposed to, instead of the dealer not caring and just throwing bits away and going, yes, we've done that. But that's in another video. So, you know, we will achieve more than what we quote. But if on an average car, we will quote you figures that are achievable. Now, there are other companies out there that will hugely inflate figures, and they'll say that they can do this and do that, and they're relying on the premise that you're never going to take it to a dyno, or your customer's never going to take it to a dyno. They're never going to find out, and they're just going to walk around, excuse the French, massively willy waving about what brake horsepower their car's got when it hasn't actually got that horsepower. And you think, well, that's not good, because you'll get found out at some point. That car will then get sold on to somebody who really wants to find out, and then they'll go to a dyno, and then and then they'll find out that it's 50 brake less than what was quoted or anything like that. Figures are a real toughie because everybody wants to dickwave about how much brake horsepower they have. Oh, my car's this, and it's got an enormous penis because I'm awesome. No, mate, you've got what is realistic. So we won't ever bolster figures. We don't do that because it's pointless. You know, and if a customer says to you, oh, well, I can get 40 brake somewhere else. Okay, all right. How is that going to be proved? Well, they've said that they can. All right, I'll tell you I'll get 100 brake more. Well, how do you know you can do that? Exactly, how do you know that they can get 40 brake more? That's not always the case. So we used to explain it like this is a good average of what cars have achieved with our software previously. And we're backing this up over, 10, 12, 13 years of doing it and seeing these cars. And obviously we've got dealers around the world with dynos, and so we see figures and we can live tune stuff, and we see things that are actually realistic that they achieve, and we'd much rather do that than give you some old flannel about what car can achieve what and how it can achieve this, and oh, it's so good because it's 30, 40 brake more than everybody else, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, shut up. What a load of old tosh. You want to give your customers honest, clean, clear advice and figures that are achievable, not made up from God knows where, so they can dick wave down the pub. That is just not what we're about. We would rather give you the opportunity to give your customers something realistic. Now, if they make more, they're going to be happy, like overly happy. And if they make what you've quoted, they're going to be really happy. So if you're overinflating figures, or you're being provided overinflated figures, and you go and give your customer saying, oh, it's 50 brake more, blah, the only possible you have is they're going to be disappointed because you've quoted them 50 brake more, and they go and realise that they have only hit whatever we would have quoted anyway. So they're not happy at all. Whereas our way of doing stuff, by being honest, means that if they hit what they quoted, they're happy. If they hit more than what they quoted, they're happy. At no point in this scenario is there disappointment. The only time you're really going to get any disappointment is if the car isn't up to what it's supposed to be. And that will normally be a sign of an issue with the vehicle as to why it's not meeting those figures. Also, you know, if you've got a car that's underachieving stock, you're never going to hit the figures quoted, because if it's 20 breakdown stock, 30 breakdown stock, you're not going to magically make and say, we say, right, okay, so we've got this car, let's say it's 200 brake horsepower, right? And we say it's going to get 250, right? Well, if a car's on the dyno and it's only making 170, to get to 250, we're saying that we're going to add 80 brake horsepower. Well, that's not the case. We're saying we're only going to add 50 brake horsepower. So 170 to 50 plus 50 is 220. So if the car's already running less stock, it's not going to magically make 80 brake horsepower more when we're only quoting 50 brake horsepower. And to be honest with you, if it's running 30 brake shy at stock, the likelihood of achieving anywhere close to 50 brake horsepower more is slim, because there is an issue there. Because most cars are pretty good at hitting close to the figures that are quoted by the manufacturers. There are a couple that aren't. BMW M3s, E46s, never. E90s, never hit 414. BMW E55 AMGs, never hit the figures that they're quoted. So a 40, 50 brake horsepower less than what's quoted is actually a healthy car. But they are few and far exceptions. You know, most BMW diesels, most BMW petrols will hit bang on what they're quoted. VW, you know, Japanese stuff, most things will hit pretty much close to what they're quoted. And also, if a car is like 10 brakes shy of its stock figures, it doesn't necessarily mean to say there's a big problem. It's just a car that's making 10 brake horsepower less. You think of the amount of cars that come rolling off of a factory line. Unfortunately, because there are so many moving parts, not every single car is the same. And as I've said before, even in this video, cars have a different life. You know, you can have two VW Golf Rs, for example, both from 2017. And in those 6 years to today, they could have had vastly different lives, driven by vastly different people with vastly different service intervals. And that's if one of them's even been serviced. And so that will affect what happens at the dyno or the power outage, power output that you're going to achieve or the car's going to achieve, even at stock, let alone tuned. So we like to be very careful with the figures that we quote and the resources that we give you, i.e. the app and the online system where you can quote your customers, because you're going to get emails, you're going to get phone calls, and every single time the person's going to ask, what am I going to achieve? And you want to be able to be confident to know that what you're giving them means they're going to be happy at the end of it. What you tell them, if you're over-quoting them, does not translate into they will be happy at the end of it. If you tell them honestly at the start, you are going to achieve what we've seen an average of 30 brake horsepower more, and they make 40 brake horsepower more, they're going to be really happy. If they make 30 brake horsepower more what they're quoted, they're going to be really happy. You know, and so that's why with the figures that we provide, we don't overinflate anything, because at the end of the day, it's you that has to look your customer in the eye, and it's you that has to tell them what they're going to achieve or why they haven't achieved the figures that they've achieved, or it's you that's going to get the praise, and it's you that's going to get, you know, the repeat business when they come back and go, oh, I made 10 brake horsepower more than you quoted. That's awesome. I'm so happy. Thank you. So we understand it's not about us needing to dick wave. It's about you needing to be able to give honest, precise information to customers so that nobody's disappointed. So yeah, if you could like and subscribe to the channel, that really helps us, but also you will get notification of when we get new videos out. We try and help as much as we can. We try and be as upfront as much as we can. So yeah, awesome. Hope you guys have a good day. Check back soon.